You're listening to the Growing On podcast, where we dig into the heart of Georgia agriculture. Each episode, we explore the people, stories, and issues shaping the fields, farms, and food that keep our state growing strong. From the latest in ag policy and innovation to timeless farming traditions, we're here to keep you informed and inspired. Here's your host, John Holcomb.
All right, so before we get going into this, give me some backstory about you and your operation, what you farm, how long you've been farming, things like that. People would be interested in knowing.
Yeah, I've been farming. This will be my 25th year of farming. I'm actually a fifth generation farmer here in Morgan County. My grandfather actually retired in 1986, so basically it's kind of skipped a generation. I didn't farm for a few years in the ag construction business out of high school, and started farming in about 2001 was my first crop. And here we farm strictly a row crop operation. We farm cotton, corn, soybeans, and wheat. No cattle, no livestock, anything like that. We have a custom farming service. Here we do some custom farming for other local farmers here in the county, and also have an ag hauling business, do some commodity hauling when we can here in around the county, Morgan County.
Okay. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm here to talk about the drought and its implication on, I'm thinking about more like spring planting, but you have a wheat crop.
Yep.
So I just want to start their baseline, how the drought, this extensive drought now, is affecting your operation.
Yeah. Yes, I do have a winter wheat crop here that we planted last November. It's been very dry on it, actually the full season. It's had enough moisture to get a good stand established back in November. Had a few rains during December, January into February some. The crop looks pretty good looking at it from the road. We were checking some heads yesterday. They seem to be filling out okay. We're not sure really if there's enough soil moisture to actually fill out the kernel in the wheat head like we want it to. We just don't have a lot of experience with being this dry of a spring. So I'm really concerned of the quality and the weight of the wheat crop. We trying to get our cotton ground ready. Had to stop doing that last week. We just ran out of moisture, just not enough moisture to run our strip till. We were fortunate enough, we had to run some irrigation on the one farm that we have irrigated to be able to run the strip till machine and got it planted actually last week. So fortunate to be able to do that, but we're very limited in this part of the state with irrigation, and it's just a very, very dry spring. I've had some corn planted for about a month now. It's up and it's really struggling. I mean, it needs a rain in the worst ways. Probably the worst corn crop starting out that I've had, in the last 15 or 20 years. It's just we're super dry up here right now.
So a couple things to unpack from what you said. When you talk about that soil moisture, or talk about that the wheat crop, in the moisture.
Yep.
What is there? So you don't have irrigation on it?
No, it's not. We don't plant our wheat under irrigation. We only plant corn and cotton under our irrigation. We only have one irrigation system that covers a 100-acre pivot, and we normally do not plant wheat under it. We've never really had a problem in the last 25 years of growing wheat of ever been a lack of moisture on a wheat crop. I always kind of laugh and joke, and it's hard to fail with a wheat crop during the winter, but I guess I'll have to take that back now. It's as dry as we've been the last 6 or 7 months here in Morgan County. I look back at some rainfall data, and we're at about 50% moisture since last September, the first of last September here. So we're down about 15 inches short in that time frame. So I know it's not helping my wheat. I'm just really concerned about what it's gonna, the lack of moisture, how it's gonna affect it when we go to harvest the end of May.
So when you said that you had trouble getting it strip tilled, what does that look like from somebody that maybe doesn't fully understand what that is?
Yep.
Do you worry about damaging equipment, or just not whenever you do turn it over?
Yep.
There's just
that's twofold. A lack of moisture this time of the year. The strip till machine is a machine we use lay cotton bed, to make cotton beds. We leave residue in the middles, and we actually just till about a 1 foot wide strip just where the cotton planter will plant the cotton. That helps with weed control, helps conserve moisture if we had any, in the middle. So you're not plowing the whole field, you're just tilling the strip where you're going to plant. It subsoils under the row as well. Well, with the lack of moisture, that subsoil machine, it almost just can't go in the ground. It is so hard. The red clay we have in this part of the state, it comes up like bricks and chunks. Just super hard, and it is very, very abrasive, the red clay is, and it really wears. I would say at least double. We get a half the life of our tips and our wear points on our equipment as it would if we had moisture. And that's, honestly, that's just an expense that we can't afford to, take right now with commodity prices and inputs the way they are. We're looking at ways to save money, not spend more money.
I'm going to piggyback on that point there. I was going to ask you a little bit later, but you talk about that cost that it's hard to bear right now, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about why this situation that you're in with, either you're going to be behind on a crop or potentially not get to plant the rest of a crop if it continues. Why that is such a dire situation right now?
Yeah, with the input costs that we have right now at all-time highs, diesel fuel, fertilizer, equipment parts, just everything is at all-time highs. Commodity prices have creeped up a little bit lately. Thankful for that, but we got to have a crop to sell this fall. And without adequate soil moisture, we can't till the crop, and then we can't plant the crop. There's no moisture there. There's no need in planting it. Hopefully, the good Lord, Mother Nature, will bring us some rain soon. We pray. I look at the weather every morning just to see what the chances are in the next few days or the next week or 10 days. And we do have a slight chance of rain later in the week. We're very thankful for that. But, we just can't afford with the way inputs are and the commodity prices, we just can't afford any hiccups or anything. Everything almost has to be perfect to make these crops pencil out, this year.
Obviously, there's been droughts before.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most notable one was in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know the worst one since that we're experiencing now is 2011.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, in past experiences with drought, kind of give me a little idea of kind of how you managed those things back then, and maybe to kind of have a second part of that question, looking at this situation now, what that looks like heading into this season.
In droughts in previous years, the one thing I think that was a little different then in those years, the inputs were not nearly as expensive. The crop did not cost nearly as much to put in and to grow as it is now. And actually the commodity prices in those years past were actually better than they are now. So we had lower inputs and higher costs. None of those years that I can remember off the top of my head, we could not get a crop in. We had a drought during the crop year. This year is extremely different to me, as being this dry this early. I've never seen it in my years of farming to be stressed about getting the crop in the ground. When you do have drought years like this in a farm like ours that's 90% dry land, we have to pray for rain, and we have to cut costs and cut expenses everywhere we can. We have to get super skinny during these type years, do other things, try to do extra custom work, extra hauling, extra off-farm income. I hope it doesn't get to having to cut employee hours. We've never had to do that here on this farm. I hope it doesn't come to that, but we would have to, as this goes on further, we'll just have to see how things go. But it's the margins are extremely tight, and I guess the easiest way to say we can't afford a drought this year. We just can't.
One last question for you, and obviously you don't have a mirror ball, and like you said, you hope and pray,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the forecast, and there is there is some chance of some later in the week, as
Mm-hmm.
you said. Is there a chance that this crop may not be able to get planted if conditions continue the way that they are?
Absolutely, I think there's a chance of that. We have a pretty long window with cotton. We've got at least another month to plant cotton up until about the 1st of June up in this part of the state. We don't like to plant cotton really much past the first week of June. So we do have some time. We've got about 6 weeks or so to get the crop in. But the longer you wait, the less yield you have, the more problems you have with a cotton crop the later you plant it. That's not to say you can't make a crop, but the chances are a lot less that you'll make a perfect crop. And we almost need a perfect crop with these type situations with inputs and pricing. And the later you go, the less chance you have of that. I'm more concerned with my corn crop that's, about a month old right now. I don't think it can stand another month of no rain. That's going to really hurt it. Since I've been growing corn, again, I've never seen it this dry in the spring. So I'm not sure what's going on. I know it's not helping it. I can promise you that.
Thanks for listening to the Growing On podcast. Be sure to tune in soon for our next episode. Until then, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already.